It's been much praised, particularly by the employers who have actually taken on interns, and the 1,400 people who are actually currently, as we speak, interning. It's not perfect. We launched it 12 weeks ago. We're learning as we go, and we're monitoring it very closely, very carefully. We're looking at feedback. We've had about 4,000 employers offer to host interns. We've accepted about 2,600 of the host offers.
And what was wrong with the 1,400 that didn't make it?
There wasn't necessarily anything wrong with them. It's just that it, in a lot of cases, requires a lot of work to explain to employers what an internship is. In other words, it's a quality experience for somebody, say, who has come out of training, apprenticeship, graduated, postgraduate, who can't get work in the current recession. And they can't get work because they can't get experience, and they can't get experience because they can't get work. So they're caught in a catch-22. So this is designed, as it does, by the way, in many countries, to offer a bridge between getting some kind of qualification or course or changing direction in terms of career and actually getting over the bridge to the new work, to the new career.
But what happened was some duds got through. We saw, pizza making, shelf stacking, car valeting. They got through, Minister. So perhaps you weren't ready for, employers risking maybe they might chance their arm a little bit and see if they can get some cheap labour?
Well, the issue of displacement, in other words, employers taking on people just to get, as it were, free labour, is of course always with internship schemes an issue. But we have very strong monitoring in place. We are using the services of the FOSS labour services people in a call centre. They have a system now. But we decided, Jonathan, not to make this a graduate-only internship. And in the minds of a lot of people, the word intern equals graduate. We've said, look, this is open to everybody. The only conditionality is that you have to be 3 months on the live register or 3 months signing on. If you take up an internship, you get whatever your social welfare payment is, plus €50. So if you're a single person, 188 plus 50. So you're getting a 6 to 9 month opportunity to get this work experience. You might be so valuable to the firm that you intern with that they'll offer you a job. And by the way, that does happen and will happen in this case. Or it's a very good item on your CV. The best way to get a job is to actually be getting some kind of experience. And, traditionally, people who have get-go, they will take all sorts of jobs just to get their foot in the door. They don't intend to work at them for life. What we're offering here now is an experience, but we have channels where we can hear from employers who obviously expect the interns to turn up and actually contribute and get involved, get engaged, bring their energy, their desire to work, and from the interns.
And has the system improved, though, that we don't see the shelf stackers and the pizza makers or whatever else, that they're not creeping in?
Well, we're 12 weeks into it, so I suppose you could say we now have 12 weeks' experience. And the critical thing, I would say, Jonathan, is that we have this appalling unemployment problem. Interning is not for everybody. It's a voluntary scheme. If people don't like it or are not interested in it, they don't have to take it. But lots of people have started and are actually quite pleased with it. It's too early to make, an absolute statement. We're going to be evaluating it. We are evaluating it and monitoring it continuously. But I suppose, ask me this question again, possibly round about March, when we will have had quite a few people interning for 6 months plus. We have Martin Murphy, who's the CEO of HP of Hewlett Packard in Ireland, as the chair of the steering group. We also have a stakeholders groups which involve employers' organisations, trade unions, voluntary organisations and civil society. So we've a lot of people watching it. One of the complaints, though, that I do get, Jonathan, is that there are, for instance, lots of people like the Students' Union in Ireland would like if it was just available to students immediately on graduation. That's one issue I haven't been able to, if you like, change, because when we signed up the deal with the IMF last November, nearly a year ago now, one of the things they asked is that we have to find ways of taking people off social welfare rolls and giving them opportunities, education, training, back to work. So there is that condition about signing on for 3 months. However, we have changed it already. If somebody's on a course, a false course, they leave the live register. But what we're doing in their case is we're suspending that period on the live register. And if they have an internship offer open to them after a course, they can go into that and keep their payment.
Minister, can I just turn to our Newstalk Nation survey today? Some very interesting findings from our listeners. 64% say they would only go back to work if the job offered paid more than social welfare. And almost 80% thought that the generosity of the welfare system discouraged people from going back to work. Does that not tell us that our social welfare system, as it's set up, belongs to a different era?
Well, I think my brief as Minister is to, as it were, rebuild our welfare state, basically for a new century. And that means, I think, a couple of, if you like, social rules that we as citizens have to agree with each other. People in work pay PRSI, they pay their taxes. If people fall into unemployment or they get sick, the social welfare system is there for them. But it's there for them as a net. It's there for them like a trampoline. It's to help them, not just to give them a safety net, but it's to give them the opportunity to bounce back. We can't have a situation in this country where a lot of people in their best working years could end up for a very long period of time, or in some cases forever, basically dependent on a welfare income. Now, I know that almost everybody who's unemployed is quite desperate to get back to work. However, clearly, we have a social welfare system where if you build up what are called secondary benefits, if, for instance, you have a rent supplement, if social welfare is paying your rent, if that's a whole house, that could be worth 800, 1,000 euros a month.
And the thing that could solve that is a welfare cap.
Well, first of all, I think the Department of Social Protection really shouldn't be paying for housing. I think that should be done by the local authorities, by their housing managers. That's what they're employed for. And I think that the way differential rents work in local authorities, if you get a job offer, you have a fairly clear idea, yes, you'll pay rent according to your income, percentage of your income, but you'll actually find that taking up work pays. The principle has to be, Jonathan, like your listeners have said in the survey, work has to pay, and we have to show that work has to pay. But people who are currently unemployed, if they get reasonable job offers, if they get reasonable training offers, they have an obligation to engage. They have an obligation to respond. And
will you be in a position to force them to respond if they don't do it voluntarily?
In April, we started to look at people who are refusing to engage. And so far, in a relatively small number of cases, we have cut people's individual social welfare payments, the 188, by about €44 a week. So in other words, if you don't engage, the system will have opportunities, but it will also have sanctions and penalties if you refuse to engage. And I think we have to do that. We owe that to the people who are contributing. We owe it to our pensioners. But just let me say this. Most people desperately want to work. They want to be financially independent. Lots of people have lost their job in the current recession. And to be honest, they didn't cause the loss of their job. It's the fallout from this recession. We're on the third anniversary today of the bank guarantee. It's caused a lot of economic and personal and family grief to a lot of people. We've people who not only have lost their jobs, but they have a lot of debt. I have to be very conscious as Minister for Social Protection that we have to look to the whole of Irish society, and we have to look to each other. But I have to also say to the people who are paying the PRSI, paying the tax, are lucky enough to be working, we'll make sure that the money that you're contributing is well spent. Just as I will be able to say to our pensioners, to people on social welfare, yes, we will try and support you and have a good system, but you have to engage with the system.